Hello and welcome back to Elliott's podcast. This is a funny angle if you're seeing the video. I'm on the side of the camera. And that's apparently how they frame things very artistically, is that you can't be in the center, you have to be off. And I actually noticed that in the new, I saw a bit of the Harry and Meghan video and the videos, and they do a few scenes where they cut to them on this weird side diagonal angle, and it's very artistic. So I'm in an artistic mood right now, and it actually just worked out better this way to frame it like here. So this week I have some music. I'll play some keyboards in a second, and I wanted to talk about the two levels of consciousness. This is very light listening, I would say. I'm just kidding. It's but I think it's important. So in my phone here, I heard a thing by Baba Ram Dass, and a while ago, because they have a podcast that plays his old lectures, and I once heard one where he talks about the different channels of consciousness, and I didn't want to play the clip because I think it goes on for quite a while, but he kind of talks about how here, I'll read this. This is an article from their website, from his website, which probably came from one of his essays or a book. Who do you think you are? Who you think you are is not who you really are. I've used an example many times in lectures, but it's such a vivid one that it's useful to cut through an awful lot of holdings. It involves the levels of perception, the television receiver, the little dial by the side of your eyes. When that dial is set on channel 5, when you look around at the world, you see the physical environment, you see people's bodies. So that's what I would call channel 1, but for some reason he calls it channel 5. And so I can just start paraphrasing. So in this channel, like if you're interested in sexual gratification, you see everyone in the lens of sex. Or if you're into your body image, everything is like I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, and then that sort of thing. So that's kind of the not very interesting channel to live on, but probably a lot of people live there quite a while. Spend a lot of their day in what he calls channel 5. Flip to channel 6 if you entered into a psychological domain and you look at everyone as happy, sad, righteous, and lazy. You could call yourself a manic depressive. You can say, I wish I was happy as everyone else. So this is the social psychological roles, and this is the psychological channel. So you're moving up a level, and then, which is probably a little better than the previous channel. Channel 7, and now you look at the world in the 12 categories, like, oh, you're a Leo, I'm an Aries. So this is how you're different than me on channel 7. Channel 8, when I look into someone else's eyes, I see someone else looking back at me. Someone just like me in there. Are you in there? I'm in here, far out. How did you get into that one? At that point, you're aware of all the individual differences as packaging, and you're seeing that, which is the same in you as it is in me. So that's the soul. When we flip one more, we flip to channel 9. When I turn to channel 9, it's as though two mirrors were facing each other with nothing in between. It is yourself looking at yourself. For on channel 9, there is only one of us. We are the ancient one. In that reality on channel 9, we are one acting like the many in order to carry out this illusion, and there is only one of us doing all this behind the many. So that's definitely that's very cool. That's channel 9. You know, we often go about our days looking at other people in terms of what we can get out of them or what they want from us, and it's quite a painful way to go about life. It's on channel. We're on channels, 5, 6, 7. Flip one more flip, channel 10. Flip into channel 10 and you disappear, and that which you were looking at disappears. It all returns to the formless, to that which lies behind the one, the essence of one, or what the Buddhists call nirvana. Channels 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 are all levels of relative reality, all within the domain of form. Channel 10 is the reality of the formless, which lies behind all forms. So, as I told you, it's heavy listening and reading today. But I was going for a walk the other night with Teddy, and it kind of dawned on me that, in this season, I actually I remember I did a podcast last year in December. December of last year was Omicron time, so that was probably one of the last. Well, I can't say the last because anything can happen, but so far, my perception is that the world is trying its best to put the pandemic away. But last year, Omicron was probably one of the last pushes for extra caution. And on top of it, there was holiday stuff. And so I remember talking about how December was a mentally busy time. And I do believe that. But this time around is, I just think December is always a busy time. I mean, and now it's got its own issues with inflation and interest rates. So it's I would probably classify this as fairly stressful for time overall, and so it's typical that the mind is very busy. It's busy all the time, right? It never has an end. But it occurred to me when I was on this walk that there really are two channels. So in Ram Dass's example, there was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if he gave 5 channels. But if a simpler way to look at everything is on 2 channels. Channel 1 is me walking around kind of unconscious and wrapped up in problems and thinking about everything all the time and ruminating, and it's never ending. And then just take a flip over to channel 2, and it's at that moment where you start to say, I have nothing to worry about right now. And I know that a lot of people listening would say, you're full of shit. I've got a crisis on my hands. I've got problems. I've this, that, don't tell me that they've got nothing to worry about. I always have something to worry about. And even me saying it out loud, I would probably say that, yes, I know there's that critic too that won't let you go onto channel 2. And I'm telling you, you have to make your way over to channel 2. And I would say channel 2 is very similar to channel 10, if you can get there. Is the formless world. And I would say creativity happens on channel 2. I love the world of improvisation. Improvisation is the basis for writing music, I believe, and it was even the basis for classical music, which is written as traditional classical music with Mozart, Beethoven, Bach. They were written down pieces, right? So, but it was, I don't know what time, but it was known that Mozart was an avid improviser. So what we think of as carefully written down and composed music, might have started out in an improvised state. And to do improvised music happens from letting go of like certainty and needing to be right. And these are all things that are very similar to the two different mindsets and states that I experienced on that walk. That channel 1 was me worried all the time, never ending worry. And channel 2 was like, I don't care anymore. I'm done worrying. And it doesn't necessarily last long. So if you do have an inner critic who's been picking on me right now, I'll admit to you that yes, you can't always live in that state. And it might not be healthy to always live in that state either. You would possibly be quite disconnected from reality. But you need to disconnect from reality once in a while, maybe a few times a day, and you just give yourself a break. And I would say the piece I'm about to play was originally, like, I didn't do it in front of this camera for the first time. It came from a place of like being in channel 2, and which was like giving myself permission to play and just sitting down to play. No, I didn't do any meticulous scales or drills to start with. I just played. And then I came back today and I said, okay, this will be the song for the podcast. And the songs on the podcast get compiled later on into these mixes. They're seasonal mixes. So I love doing new stuff just for this podcast. I will say before I wrap up, I understand that my podcast is in many ways not realistic in the world. I look at other podcasts and I know they all have a motive to them. Not all, sorry. Popular ones, they have a clear organization. They have a goal. They might want like listeners, and they might want advertisers. And I noticed, like, if you search for like how to start a podcast, you see a lot of things about how to monetize a podcast. I once told someone about my podcast and they asked me some questions like that, like how is it doing in that regard? And I'm here to tell you I don't really care. And I hope that you're with me on that, and I hope that you are, and you notice I don't really like pitch things. I'm sort of a communist in that way when it comes to this podcast. And I think the real goal for me is like, how will it live on after I'm gone one day? I'd love for this stuff to just be lying around and that people could review this, this talk that I gave just now about the channels and the music I'm about to play. So I just wanted to say that I'm content with the fact that this is quote unquote irresponsible and as a part of an adult life, that you're expected that everything lines up with the next thing, and that you're not doing things that don't help you earn a living. And yeah, I'm appreciative to be able to do this. I think it shows you how amazing the technology is, and you don't even need the highest technology to get going. And this has been going on for quite a while now. It's probably a year and a half. Let's just keep going. And every time I come up with new things. By the way, if you didn't watch last week's, I will give a quick recap. I talked about some tools for guitarists. There's the Mustang Micro was this. I picked it as my Hanukkah gift of the of the year. It's been out for quite a while, but it's a tool that lets you practice along. But that episode was also about that what I called the Trey Anastasio method. So if you haven't seen that last week's, that podcast was good. The Trey Anastasio method, just to recap if you did watch it, is about inspired play and something that I picked up from a video that he made where he talked about like his routine for playing music, and he just kind of jams along to a track when he gets warmed up in the morning, and that's getting into a groove. So yeah, check that out if you haven't. And yeah, this is Elliott Feinberg for Elliott's podcast. Thank you for listening. And I don't have a name for this song yet, but it'll go into like show notes and stuff like that. It'll end up in the mixes. So thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Take care.